We're moving
trolls.
on to Extraction, which is a Chris Helmsworth vehicle.
Extraction. It's like pulling teeth.
Yes. That's basically the review, Sam, yes. Yes, in this Chris Hemsworth vehicle, the son of an Indian drug lord is kidnapped by a rival Bangladeshi drug lord. A small team of specialists is hired to get him back, rather than pay any ransom, headed by Hemsworth Tyler Rake. While he's able to take the kid from his captors, there's some double-crossing afoot, forcing Rake to bust out of Dhaka solo, through the medium of murdering several hundred police officers. I mean, there's more to the film than that, but not much more, and certainly nothing that isn't out of Baby's first book of cliches and genre tropes. So, for example, so confident is Joe Russell's script of being utterly generic that Rake's obligatory troubled backstory is only vaguely hinted at through blurry flashbacks and dreams, with you left to fill in the details yourself. I made a note at the point at which I realised I did not care one jot about anything happening on the screen, that being 28 minutes in. Now, while there's perhaps some humanity early on in the film, when we briefly get to know Rudrakash Jaswali's Ovi Mahajan Jr., the kidnapped kid, after he's been taken, he may as well be replaced by a rucksack that's flung pillar to post by Rake. Now, Rake...
Are you suggesting he's a MacGuffin character, Craig?
Just a little bit. I mean, Rake is almost by design so overwhelmingly default that interest will refuse to adhere to him, and well, who cares about the tribulations of drug dealers? I had a slight glimmer of hope later on when David Harbour shows up, as Hemsworth has shown plenty of charisma later on in previous roles, that I would have thought that there's potential for these two to play off each other, but sadly, no, these scenes are just as predictable as everything else in the movie. Now, the car chases and shootouts that compose a solid 80% of this film are, to be fair, pretty well handled on a technical level, but as stated multiple times by this point, they're happening to people that I give not a solitary fig about, so they all fell rather flat. Not least because of the number of surely innocent policemen that Rake mercilessly slaughters.
Yes.
We're not supposed to feel sorry for them because the chief of police is in the drug lord's pocket, but it's quite a stretch to assume that everyone under him is also on board the evil train.
For a man grieving his son, he's all right with dispatching any number of other people's sons.
Yes.
Share my pain.
Like everything else in the film, we were expected not to think about it too much. Now, this has, at least according to Netflix, been a huge success by whatever metric they measure success. This must surely be a commentary on the boredom imposed by lockdowns, rather than any sort of vote of approval for this characterless, bland, sub-Call of Duty cutscene of a film that I simply cannot imagine anyone caring about in the slightest. Netflix search for a competent action series must continue. Six Underground at least had a bit of personality. This film, and in particular the very last scene of this film, can get bent so hard that it forms a pretzel.
Yeah, this film that is apparently going to have a sequel. Yes.
Oh, what?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Just
Jesus.
very recently reported.
I don't even necessarily remember the last scene of this.
Don't want.
Oh, yes. The last scene. You know the tremendously hurt person who couldn't possibly survive?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, he survived in the last scene.
Shut up.
Yep.
No,
the
that
implication
can't be
that-
explicit because I would remember that.
There's an implication that there's a blurry out of focus guy in the background that it is pretty clearly
In a
supposed to
swimming
be.
pool, but it's very clearly...
As opposed to
it is.
having become a human teabag.
Yes.
And given the fact that there is now going to be a sequel, then you obviously know who it is.
Doesn't need to be that person though, does it? Fuck off.
Oh, no, because that person's coming back. And unless you do a prequel, then it's that person.
I'm assuming he's going to be a mute then.
Yeah, this is... It is such like Call of Duty cutscene, Scott. That's a very good way of putting it. It's so generic. Honestly, I didn't have as much of a difficult time getting through this as the rhythm section, but if I'd watched them in any different order, perhaps it would have just been different. It's just so generic and empty, and I don't care about anyone. Nobody's got a character. I didn't believe the guy being the Bangladeshi drug lord at all, and his control seemed to be way too much. You know, he runs the entire capital city of a country, okay, and then like in other films, the bits where suddenly people find him in the middle of this massive city full of human beings, I'd been more bothered about, but it's like actually at this point didn't care.
Yeah, full of like basically 10% of the Earth's population.
And then they can find them, and it's like, is this little kid that finds them too? It's like, Honestly, the one thing I was hoping for this film that could have provided me with some amusement if he just shot that kid in the face, because the kid tried to kill him twice. It's like one time you get away with, not the second time. And then strange subplots about some kid was wanting to prove himself to this guy and cuts off his fingers. Like, where was that going?
He was desperate to cut his finger off. I don't know why.
And it's him that does the deed at the end, but it's like, why? He's not even a character. It's just so generic and dull and pointless, and apparently really successful in this getting a sequel, and I'm flabbergasted.
You know what?
Why?
There can't be many more podcasts than us that have decried modern action films and hoped for a return to like the 80s action film genre heyday. And it must be said that when we're saying that, we're thinking of the good 80s action films, which this is, I think, trying to ape, but doing it in the way that is the absolute worst of the direct-to-video garbage that would have been released about then. I mean, this should star Michael Dudikoff. This is just hot garbage, and it's that sort of minimal plotting and entirely generic, by-the-numbers, trope-tastic nonsense that was churned out in the 80s, and it's garbage, and I don't want to see this again.
It's not even that, Scott. This is why I've got a problem with Taken, because the minute people opened the door and accepted Taken in, and there are people whose opinions I would otherwise respect who think that Taken has merit, and I wonder what planet I'm living on in comparison to them, because that is the biggest piece of fucking garbage in the history of humankind. And it's this whole sort of thing of, the minimalist, bereft of plot, the efficiency of blah blah. Shut up. Don't tell me that not having a plot and being efficient, don't use efficient as a byword for no script or no inventiveness or no development. There's no excuse for that. I grieve for the people I used to know who tell me that Taken is a good movie, because they are dead to me. And that has got so much to answer to for this kind of nonsense. And this film sets out in that whole vein of, this film wants to be The Raid so much, but it forgets that The Raid was operating on a level where it's like, okay, it might be minimalist in terms of plot, but there's an art and a craft to what's being presented on screen. And at a certain point, by the end of this movie, you talk about a Call of Duty cutscene, Scott, and I'm sitting there thinking to myself, wow, this is just an on-rail shooter, is how I would, and the sort of like soulless, methodical dispatching of people with like 2 shots from a rifle, there's a point at the end of this film where for 5 minutes, Hemsworth, and I can't remember which one is he? X Hemsworth, where X is Chris?
I hope.
Right.
He's the most famous Hemsworth, Craig.
Yeah, whichever one, Thor, where Thor is walking about and it's like 2 shots. For 5 minutes, all it is him walking across a bridge. And it's like, I don't need 30 people to have been shot 2 times exactly each for this whole thing. There's no craft, there's no art to this. This is soulless bilge. Mm-hmm. And you know, the high point of this movie was Tyler Rake. He killed a guy with a rake. Ha 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 ha. Except delete ha 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 ha. Because by that point there was nothing interesting or funny about it. Do you know what I despair that this has become as popular as it is, because having watched the trailer for this, I thought to myself, oh, you want to be The Raid, but I know this is going to be terrible. And advance word was, this is terrible. This is Chris Hemsworth doing a favour for, who are the guys that directed the last 2 Avengers movies?
The Russo brothers.
The Russo brothers. This seems to be some sort of thing where the Russo brothers have some dirt on Family Man, overt Instagram Family Man, Chris Hemsworth, with his nuclear family and his impossible physique and his, goddamn, I'm annoyed by how much I want to have a pint with Chris Hemsworth because he literally has everything, doesn't he? He's a couple of years short of our age, probably is. Am I right? What age is he?
Perfect. He's the perfect age.
He's the perfect age. He's a perfect physique. He's got perfect children. Everybody loves him, including me, because he's Australian and he's quite happy to be a normal guy, and he's got massive fame and he doesn't have to worry about money, and his family don't have to worry about money for generations to come. And I hate you, Chris Hemsworth, but I love you. And my wife loves you, and that's half the problem. That's why we ended up watching this film, is because I'm under no illusions. My wife is fantasizing about Chris Hemsworth. And she was the one who said, no, we need to watch this. And we watched the trailer and I said, are you sure? Because you know that little preview, I said, Kate, this looks like absolute garbage. No, we need to watch it. And I'm 40 and she's 40 and I accept now that she thinks about other men when we're making love. And it's just, and one of those men is undoubtedly Chris Hemsworth. And I don't blame her. I really don't, because I'd make love to Chris Hemsworth.
You're thinking
Who
it
wouldn't?
too.
Let's be honest. He's got everything. God damn you, Chris Hemsworth. You're masculine. You're feminine. You've got a sense of humour. You're a down-to-earth guy. Why can't we all be Chris Hemsworth? I want you, Chris Hemsworth. Everybody wants Chris Hemsworth. So let's watch this, and it is bankrupt. It is bankrupt from start to finish. It is the most soulless enterprise that Netflix have pumped money into. It's got the good grace to be international. Do you know what? Do you know what I want to see? You know how we were talking about earlier, or I was certainly rambling on about female directors and female leads in traditionally masculine roles. Well, this does something worthwhile in that it takes the action movie and it relocates it to somewhere where a huge percentage of the Earth's population reside, and we as a Western audience have traditionally had no interest whatsoever in our entertainment being set or coming from that region. I applaud the fact that this movie wanted to set itself in the location that it does. However, having gotten to the end of the movie, I thought to myself, this is less about cultural exposure than it is about where was it cheaper for you to film and where did the stunt performers care less about their own personal health per dollar invested. Do you know all you need to know about this movie? Go to the IMDb page to this movie and see how many of the actors involved have actually even got headshots against their profile. And those are the most interesting people in this movie. You know the really bad guy who throws a kid off a fucking roof?
Yeah.
There's something I've not seen before. Wow, this film's going to go places where I wasn't expecting it. That's reprehensible, but it's doing something interesting. Let's not pursue that any further. Let's not invest any time in that whatsoever. This movie doesn't pursue anything worthwhile in being that. It sets out to be worthless and is worthless, and people are absorbing it and they are making another one now.
What we're saying is that it's not a good film. We don't recommend it.
Even I'm bored to death at the sound of my voice now. Listeners, I apologise. Do you know what else this movie has done? It has hammered the final nail in the coffin of the value of the single take.
Yeah.
Because it spends 10-15 minutes in the middle of this film in what is clearly meant to be, or what it thinks is going to be, a groundbreaking piece of action filmmaking, doing nothing other than highlighting why modern filmmaking's obsession with the single take is an absolutely pointless pursuit. There is no point in a single take if it's not a single. There is a reason for a single take. There's a reason why people talk about the Copacabana scene in Goodfellas, right? And this is not it.
Yes, this was very much 1917 Shorn of All meaning and sense. Yeah.
A single take for the sake of a single take. There's no reason to do this other than someone sat down and went, do you know what would be great if we did this as a single take, but it's not a single take? Why make it a single take then? Because you're not.
Why fake a single take as well? Because
that's what I mean. Yeah, sorry. I'm sorry. I'm not.
This film's mediocrity and general badness has rendered you incoherent.
It has. I'm going to shut up now because I've kind of made my point. I'm sure you can extract from my rantings, my rum-fueled rantings, what my point was. I'm not even sure what it is myself at this point.
5 stars.
5 stars, says Paul Ross. Press F to pay respects.
This movie is the press F to pay respects of movies. Do you know what? Total car crash. And I will watch its sequel because I feel like having not walked out of it, having not gotten up off of my sofa halfway through this Netflix endeavour, I feel I am now complicit in it and I deserve to have to watch the sequel. I will self-flagellate that much when whatever the goddamn sequel is arrives, and whatever the explanation as to how that can even come about is, I will subject myself to it because I am deserving of it.
Extraction 2 insertion.
Could I make a small request?
Of course you can.
Can we please stop talking about Extraction?